All right, gamers, let's talk about the ban list. December 16, 2024 was the most anticipated ban list announcement, and that's largely because of the overwhelming power of the One Ring and the Boros Energy deck that was constructed from basically all Modern Horizons 3 cards. Now, the One Ring is banned to the surprise of no one. Everyone kind of expected this to be the case. I, of course, was hoping for the first ever restriction to happen for Modern, to see the One Ring still be able to get played, but I like the idea of them playing it safe and just kind of getting rid of it altogether. Eldrazi decks will have to pivot a little bit more to kind of readjust for the way that they play their games. I wouldn't be surprised if we see kind of another rise up of Tron again. Kind of get back to more of like an Oblivion Stone era style of play and get a little bit more control-y with that. Or we get that harder pivot into kind of like a Brood Scale combo with Eldrazi decks. So those are the ones that are going to be hit the most. The Jeskai Control is going to lose the One Ring too, and I've got some ideas about that, so stay tuned for ideas of what to do with your Jeskai list. Next big ban announcement, of course, was a bit more questionable, kind of up in the air for Modern fans of what they expected to see get hit with our Boros Energy. Amp Raptor is the one that ends up getting the axe, which leaves us with this kind of removal of a little bit more of the explosiveness that the deck had access to. It still allows the deck to remain intact by not going for like Guide of Souls, which I was pushing for. So, for all of your Boros Energy fans, the deck's still going to exist. It's going to be kind of a little bit slower, if you will, but it's still going to care about the kind of go wide mechanics. It's still going to have a Johnny. It's still going to have Ocelot Pride. You're still going to be able to generate quite a bit of energy, but you won't be able to do like a big explosive with Amp Raptor and just like generate energy, immediately swing with Guide of Soul and like do these crazy stuff that you had to do, but it's still going to be a deck within Modern. So be aware of that if you're going to be still playing Modern after this. The third big ban announcement was Jegantha the Wellspring. Now, this was the last remaining companion that saw consistent play. There are still a couple sprinkling in there that don't really see play, so we're not really going to discuss those. But like, it saw play specifically in the Boros Energy list. It saw play in Zoo list. It saw play in Prowess list. It was one of those that was just like essentially a free card for everybody that had it. Like, oh, I get rid of a sideboard piece essentially to be able to have this Jegantha available that I just pay 3 mana and have a 5/5 in my hand that I can just help me close out the game. If we've grinded long enough that I've gotten to the point where it's, yeah, I can spend my resources to get that, let's do that. So seeing that, it's really no surprise because there really was no negative impact for those decks to run it, and it's just kind of help. Hey, Companions is a really not that great of a mechanic when they designed it. They even tried to nerf it by saying, hey, this costs 3 mana and then it goes to your hand. It's like, okay, we don't care. All right, if you guys remember the Lurrus days, like, yeah, there's Companions is a problem. But now let's talk at least about the most exciting part of the ban announcements: the unbanning of 4 cards. Now, this is going to be a little bit more of our discussion-based side of things, speculation about what decks are going to come out. But really, the thing that I can tell you is that I had people messaging me all day long, old school players that were just excited about the unbannings. They wanted to start returning. They wanted to get back in. They wanted to start brewing. And that's the part that really gets me excited about this next stage of Modern, is being able to hear from these players that played pre-Modern Horizon days and were like, yeah, seeing some of my favorite cards come back, it's got me reinvigorated to get back into Modern, and I love that. So let's talk a little bit more about these unbannings and some of the brews that people are working on, or some of the brews at least that I'm thinking of that you could be able to be testing out and playing. First up is Mox Opal. Now, Mox Opal is the backbone of Affinity or Artifacts list. It's first banned in 2020, kind of right after Modern Horizons came out, and there was all kinds of issues with that. We did a whole video that was explaining why this was banned, so make sure you guys check that out if you haven't seen that. Now, Mox Opal helps open up and speed up the consistency of 2 main artifact decks that currently exist in Modern, Hardened Scales and Blue-White Affinity. Now, both of them are doing kind of different things along the artifact trajectory. Hardened Scales is all about going for those, +1/+1 counter manipulation, and they have already some explosive capabilities, they can win very quickly, like a turn 3 win. If they have the right pieces, you know, you have that ability with Arcbound Ravager, the Walking Ballista shenanigans. You, of course, have Inkmoth Nexus lines. So there's a couple different lines that they can go for that can win very quickly. And Mox Opal speeds that up even more so. So be careful about that. Especially very skilled Hardened Scale pilots will be able to kind of manage through some of the artifact hate that's going to be rising back up. Affinity used to be explosive. It used to be similar to that Hardened Scale style. Since then, it's kind of gotten to more of a grindy control shell. We've seen it also featured on the channel, where you guys have been able to see the kind of the top end, the way that the game is trying to be closed out is with a Kappa Cannoneer, but you're just kind of like controlling the board state here, you know, like portable holes and things like that to kind of clear up the board until you get to it. So Mox Opal just kind of, again, helps with the artifact count, helps with consistency. So I like that kind of addition for those shells. I also expect to see some Lantern control lists rise up. I already started brewing up a Dimir list that wasn't running Mox Opal. I had started working on it last week when getting ready for the ban list and thought, yep, this seems good. Let's try to bring that in here and test it out. So we'll see how that kind of surfaces. Another deck that I'm excited to start brewing is actually an Urza like Thopter combo deck. You know, Urza sees little to no play right about now. Every now and again, you'll see someone kind of bring it up. I don't know if that has enough legs to survive in the current meta, but the idea of having so many different artifact decks in Modern is super exciting, right? Where you could be like, oh, I'm going to go a dedicated +1 counter strategy. I'm going to be going for a like big Kappa Cannoneer 8 cast style with Thought Cast or Thought Monitors and kind of draw a bunch of cards. I'm going to be going for a lockout prison style deck with our Lantern control, or I'm going to be going for a combo, you know, Urza Thopter combo shenanigans style. So like that sounds really exciting to have like 4 dedicated artifact decks. I like that idea there. So let's go into our next one. Next up is Green Sun Zenith. Now, a creature tutor spell that lets you find a green creature. You know, it's based off the casting cost that you pay into it, right? So it costs, of course, X and a green to be able to do. There aren't any current creature-based combo decks in Modern that really win off of a green creature, right? Like Yawgmoth, it's black, right? You need that, I guess, in addition to some of your Undying stuff. Like you could tutor a Young Wolf, but why are you tutoring for a Young Wolf, right? That doesn't feel right in that list. Soul Trader combo, again, black. You're bringing back your zombies, your grave crawlers. Like that's, you don't need it for there, so that doesn't really fit. I'm going to be testing a one of in my Simic Infect list. You guys have seen that a couple times on camera. You can get, of course, a Glistener Elf with it. I'm less likely to do that unless it's like a crazy early thing where I need to do that. For the most part, I'm going to be using it to get a Venerated Rot Priest. There's been a couple of games lately in the meta where I'll do some explosive turns and then try to do like slow chip damage to finish my opponent off. Like, oh, I just need to do 1 now, or I just need to do 2. And so tutoring up a Rot Priest to then just be like, oh, I have all these like pump spells, or force my opponent to have to respond and they have to try to kill that, which again just gets them an extra poison counter. So I like that idea of trying out like a one of in a Simic list. But the list that I feel like is going to use it the most is going to be Elves. Elves has kind of fallen off as a Kindred-based deck. It used to be a thing, and it used to be designed of a Golgari list that was kind of almost like a burn style of strategy, where you kind of, I have enough elves on the board, I'll burn you out based on the number of elves I have. I don't really see that list existing with Green Sun Zenith. I think we're going to go more into like a Legacy Light version, you know, kind of pivoting over into just we're going to generate a lot of dorks, a lot of big mana, untappies, you know, bouncy, do that sort of stuff, especially because we've got things like the Corian Ranger, Wirewood Symbiote, Priest of Titania are now legal in there. I just kind of expect us, let's generate a lot of mana. Let's do a Craterhoof one, right? Our top end will be Craterhoof, and we'll try to navigate that. I don't know how consistent it will be. I feel like it's going to be one of those like LGS local heroes where you're going to be able to get a bunch of games in. You could easily go like 4-0 at your LGS, especially if people are unprepared for the deck and you have the right draws or the explosiveness that the deck has access to. So I'll be doing some testing with that probably at the LGS at some point. But that's kind of, I don't see Green Sun Zenith making too much of a splash in Modern at this moment. Next one though is everyone's favorite looting effect, and that would be the one that died for Hogak Sins. Faithless looting, of course, has made its return to Modern. Dredge players across the internet have been rejoicing all day. That's one of the big things that I was seeing as well when I was going through and reading through people's comments and people's thoughts about it. It's like, oh yeah, can't wait to be able to start doing some more Dredge shenanigans. There's also 2 other decks that used to like Faithless looting back in the day before it was banned, one of which started to see a little bit more play recently. Of course, talking about the Hollow One deck. You guys probably have seen that. We feature it on camera a few times, but if you've been watching around, it's one of those like, hey, we care about drawing and discarding effects, so we can cheat out a Hollow One, so we can be able to put this Detective's Phoenix in the graveyard, so we can fill our graveyard up and use this Nevergoist power. And so like there's a lot of cool things within that I feel like Faithless looting is going to have a really good time with. Of course, it's, has a little bit more explosive potential now with Faithless looting coming back. It was still decent, but it was maybe a little slower. Maybe this speeds it up a bit. Who knows? We'll see how that goes with that. So be aware that Hollow One might kind of start rising up a little bit. The other one, speaking of explosive decks, that I think is going to be doing very well is a Phoenix strategy. Arclight Phoenix basically existed because Faithless looting existing in Modern. Now it's still a deck in Pioneer, but we're not worried about Pioneer right now. It's even better in Modern based on the cantrips and the spells and things that we have access to. So be prepared for that to be back, and make sure that you're running Graveyard Hate, because all 3 of these strategies that we're talking about, Dredge, Hollow One, and Arclight Phoenix, are going to be ones that you're going to want to have dedicated Graveyard Hate in your sideboard for. So surgical extractions, Tormod Crypts, whatever ley lines, right? Whatever way that you feel like you need to fight this, you got to have it in there. At least 2 slots is like the minimum going forward. We'll see how things go and approach, because you also need to have Artifact Hate now. Like it's your sideboards are going to have to go all over the place. You still need creature hate to get rid of Boros energy. So like, yeah, it's going to be wild, but let's keep going. Let's go through our last but not least card that we are excited about, and people have been speculating for this card for years. More people have been wishing and hoping for years. Every ban announcement, you can sit there without a doubt. We go, okay, ban announcement's coming up. Everybody look at this card, check the stocks on it, and you can see just the increase in price as people start buying it out, and then the decrease as it doesn't get unbanned. But today, no more. Splinter Twin is back. It has made its return. Now, we talked about it before. We tried out the Is It list in the summer at our Shop's No Ban List event. We played against kind of a regular Modern deck at the time as well, just playing against like Is It deck and some Prowess decks and some Ban List decks. Like we played against, say, Amulet Titan when we used Twin. Like it was a lot of fun. We opted for the Is It Wizard list, and we just kind of threw our Twin pieces in there. So that is definitely one way to go, and I feel like it's the easiest shell to go with to start with. You just got to do some tweaking to the numbers about how things work, but it gives you a little bit more flexibility. I've heard some speculation maybe this is the time where you get like Ragavan coming back, because a Ragavan hit, you speed up the timing because you're getting treasures. You're going to be able to cast your Deceivers, your Pestermites a little bit earlier, cast your Twins a little bit earlier. So there is that element of going kind of that route. So I will be testing that out. There are going to be games that are going to get stolen from people now that Twin is back. All right, it's going to be a turn 3. Let's flash this in. Tap down your last mana or something like that you were going to use to respond to something, and then I'm going to untap and I'm going to kill you by casting the Splinter Twin and untap and make infinite creatures. It's going to happen. Twin is an interesting one because it forces players to have to do one of 2 things. They either have to speed up and try to burst your opponent down faster than they are able to combo out, or they have to slow down and play a more reactionary, responding style of play. either way, I like playing Twin, and I'm going to be playing Twin. But I am brewing my second version of Twin, not just the Is It version. I'm going to be going for the Jeskai build, and that one's going to be more of an energy focus, almost like the Jeskai control list that existed currently. If you guys have seen it, like, oh, we lost the One Ring, but what can we do? Well, I can take all these energy pieces like Wrath of Skies that I was using for, Tune the Narrative, Galvanic Discharge, and I'll just put Splinter Twin in this package. And now I have ways to answer all of your artifact stuff, the Mox Opal decks that are going to start rising up. I still have a lot of ways to answer them using Wrath of Skies, but now I have instead of just relying on my top end of a Flage to kill you, I have a way to combo and kill you earlier if I need to. Now I got to do some adjustments to the numbers of things and see how that works, but I think that might be where I end up for a little while, depending on what the meta is going to be shaping up. Again, you need some hate for the graveyards and stuff, so that's kind of my ideas for the way that I'm going to be brewing up and the way that I'm kind of planning things. What cards are you excited for? There's a lot of stuff to be excited for in Modern right now. Do you have specific decks that you're looking to play? I mean, if you have lists that you're working on, let me know. Send me those Moxfield links. Leave some comments here because I want to see what you guys are brewing up, because I would love to try them out, both online, in person. Like, that's the stuff that I'm excited for. I'm not the only one excited. It sounds like a lot of people are excited to play Modern. Now, we're going to be doing a lot more gameplay stuff for everybody, so make sure you guys are watching every Monday and Thursdays for the gameplay side of things. We also are going to be having a full podcast episode breaking this down in more details, because this is about 16, 17 minutes, however long this ended up going for. And we'll do like a full-on episode for the ban list stuff, because we'll go into more details about this and talk about Legacy that we kind of skipped over in this episode, because the Legacy ban lists are really cool and really important for any Legacy fans like I am. So that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching, everybody, and we'll see you all next game.